This video is on converting. Let's say I want to convert 4.0 kilometers into centimeters, or for all we care, it could be 4.0 kilojoules into centijoules, or maybe I'm using grams. It's 4.0 kilograms into centigrams. The point I want to show you is that this unit doesn't change. It's always meters, or in the second case it remains joules, or in the third case it remains grams. What is changing? It's the prefix. We're changing from kilo to a different prefix, centi. So in this type of case, we are changing prefixes. We have to remove the kilo and replace it with centi. Now, when we convert, we don't want to actually change the value or the amount that we have. Like, for example, if I have $20 and I go to the bank and I ask for quarters, they're going to give me 80 quarters. I don't want them to give me 10 quarters because it's like they just took my money. I don't have as much money as I had initially. $20 and 80 quarters, that's the same amount of money, it's just different units, dollars versus quarters. So when we convert, it's important to keep the original value or amount the same. How do we keep the amount the same? Well, consider for a second, if I took 4 kilometers and I multiplied it by 2, I just changed the value. If I took 4 kilometers and I multiplied it by 1/2, again, I just changed the value. There's only one number that I can multiply by where I do not change the value. And the only number I can multiply by is 1. That's what we do when we convert. We multiply by 1. Let me show you. Instead of multiplying by the number 1, I'm going to multiply by a fraction which equals 1. So in particular, the prefix kilo stands for 10 to the 3. The prefix centi is 10 to the minus 2. So if I want to convert and get rid of the kilo, then I need to put kilo on bottom so that the kilo in the numerator will cancel with the kilo in the denominator. Kilo over kilo is just 1. But to make my fraction equal to 1, just like it is up here, I have to make sure the numerator equals the denominator. So what do I have to put up top? Well, kilo equals 10 to the 3. So I put 10 to the 3 right here. Now, my numerator and denominator are equal. The whole fraction is 1, just like we require. And I am canceling out the kilo. But I'm not done. I need to erase that equals. We have another step. We got rid of the kilo. Now we have to add in the centi. So do I want centi on top or do I want centi on bottom? Well, look back up at the question. Centi should be with meters. So meters is in the numerator, which means centi goes on top. We have to make sure the fraction is 1, so we put 10 to the minus 2, because centi and 10 to the minus 2 are equal, and this fraction is equal to 1. So again, I'm multiplying by 1. I'm not changing the value of the original 4 kilometers. And I want to point out again, the reason I put centi on top is because now I have centimeters in the numerator and I can just combine those units. What else is there? We have 4.0 times 10 to the 3 divided by 10 to the minus 2. That's how many centimeters we have. When you work this out, you get 4.0 times 10 to the 5 centimeters. Let's see another example. Convert 6.0 gigajoules into picojoules Again, the joules are going to stay the same. I'm only changing the prefix from giga to pico. And the problem tells me what giga equals and what pico equals. So I start with my 6.0 gigajoules. I have to make sure I don't change that amount. So whatever fraction I multiply by has to equal 1. First, I have to get rid of the giga. I put giga on the bottom so that the 2 gigas will cancel out. What do I put into the numerator? Oops. I put 10 to the 9. Why? Because now the numerator and denominator are equivalent in amount. How do I know that 10 to the 9 equals giga? It says so right here. And why is it so important that the numerator and denominator are equal? Because now this is no different than multiplying by 1, and I'm not changing the original amount. The next thing I do, now that I've gotten rid of giga, I want to add pico into the numerator along with joules. So I put a pico up top. But I have to make sure my fraction equals 1. So what do I put down below? I put the corresponding power of 10, 10 to the minus 12. Now my numerator and denominator are equal, and so this is no different than multiplying by 1, which doesn't change the original amount. My final step is to combine the numbers. So I've combined the 6, the 10 to the 9, and the 10 to the minus 12. And, oops, right next to it, I combine the units, which is pico and joules. Solving this gives 6.0 times 10 to the 21 picojoules, and you can get that from your calculator. So what if we have something like this? Convert 21 miles per hour to kilometers per second. And we're given some information. (1,609) meters equals 1 mile. Anything else we're given? Yes. We're given that kilo equals 10 to the 3. How do we proceed? You take the amount that we're starting with. We're going to have to convert the numerator and then convert the denominator. To convert the numerator, first I have to cancel out miles. I want to put it into kilometers. But I can't put kilometers here because I don't know how many miles are in a kilometer. What do I know? I know that there are 1,609 meters in 1 mile. So I can get rid of miles and convert to meters. Notice my numerator and denominator are equal. 1 mile is equal to this many meters, and I know that because of this equation here. So I will cancel out my miles. I'm now in meters per hour, but I want to be in kilometers. So I have to add a kilo. The kilo should be in the numerator next to the meters. And what do I put on bottom? 10 to the 3, because that's what a kilo equals. How do I know? From this equation. So now I've converted, I've gotten rid of my miles. I have kilometers or kilometers. And my next step is to convert the denominator to minutes. To seconds. So how do I do that conversion? I cancel out the hours, and this time I put hours in the numerator so that they will cancel. Hours over hours is 1. And what do I put down below? Well, I know there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So this is just like multiplying by 1. Next, I've gotten rid of the hours, but I have to get rid of the minutes. So what do? I'm going to put minutes in the numerator and 60 seconds in the denominator. My minutes will cancel, and now I am left with kilometers per second. So I combine the units, I combine the values, I can move this over, and when I calculate this, what do I get? 0.0094 kilometers per second.